Hi, I'm Tom Gilson. I'm a writer and editor with a website called The Stream at stream.org. And I'm also someone who is day by day more and more increasingly impressed with the greatness of the character, the person of Jesus Christ. Now, I know skeptics would say that that's a little bit crazy on my part, that Jesus was just a legend. Why be impressed with him? My answer is Jesus is too good for that. He's too good to be false. Too good not to be true. Now, how do I come to that conclusion? Well, I start with a couple of points on which everybody can agree, which is that the story of Jesus, first of all, is a story. That is, for Christians, we'll say, tell me the story of Jesus. For skeptics, they'll say, it's just only a story. That's all it is. Either way, it's a story. And the second thing that we can all agree on, I think, quite readily, is that stories come from somewhere. Stories have a backstory. And we're often really interested in the backstory, where stories come from. That's why we will read biographies, maybe of George Lucas or Steven Spielberg. We'll want to know the story behind the story. And the story and the backstory have to make sense together. Otherwise, you know something is not quite right. Like, suppose someone came up with a new, say they found a new play that had been written in the style that made it sound very much like it had been written by one of the great Elizabethan playwrights, maybe even Shakespeare. And you look at it and you go, boy, this sounds like the real thing. Where did it came from? Where did it come from? And they say, well, there was a committee of British coal miners in the late 19th century who pulled this together. You say, no. Something's wrong with that backstory. I don't know if it has to do with the quality of the play or something, but I know that if we're going to figure out the truth about this play, we got to do some more investigating. The story and the backstory don't fit. Well, there's a backstory behind the Gospels as well. Actually, it comes in two versions. There's the Christian version, which says that the backstory is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John either recorded their own eyewitness accounts or the accounts that they heard directly from eyewitnesses, and so they wrote down essentially the truth. They wrote down actually the truth. That what they present there is the account of the life of Jesus as he lived it, as he died and as he rose again as well. That's one version of the backstory, but the skeptics have another version of the backstory, which is that it's really just legend. And the legend, they say, comes from various places. One of the places would be in line with what's called cognitive dissonance reduction theory. If you want to look into this, there's a really fascinating book by Leon Festinger called When Prophecy Fails, where he talks about a woman who gathered a group who were going to be whisked away from the planet by the aliens from the planet Clarion just before they destroyed the Earth. And that was going to happen one night, and it didn't. It didn't. Surprise to us. Well, they were surprised, and they'd invested everything in this, and how are they going to live from this point on? Well, she came up with a way to make it true after all, which was that the aliens from Clarion saw their sincerity and changed their mind. Sometimes people will be so invested in some kind of a belief